National Women's Week is spearheaded by the Department of Gender and Family Affairs, Ministry of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting. This year's theme is Women, Let's Collaborate. The event is celebrated nationally for this reason. 63 years ago, on November 26, 1962, Bahamian women entered polling stations for the first time and cast their ballots. That historic act of courage, won through years of determined advocacy by the women's suffrage movement, reshaped our democracy and expanded who had the right to participate in nation building. Minister of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting, the Honorable Myles LaRoda, officially opened National Women's Week during a spirit-filled service at Holy Cross Anglican Church on November 23, 2025. Holy Cross Rector is Reverend Dr. Ethan P.J. Ferguson, and Associate Priest is Reverend Father Berkeley B.J. Smith. The altar servers included female servers and acolytes whose presence were encouraging reminders of how giving young girls positive paths of expression provide good ground for God-fearing, influential women in this nation. Holy Cross Church came alive with soul-stirring songs. Positive messages.
And to all of you who have come to join on this wonderful occasion as we give God thanks for the contribution of women. We are in a teaching series, but I'm going to just speak briefly on the idea and the matter of National Women's Week. And I want to say that it is imperative that we honor women in our history, in particular, women of the suffrage movement here in the Bahamas, which led the first right for women to vote that took place on November 26, 1962. And just so that you are very familiar with our history, the first woman to vote is present with us today. And the first woman to register to vote, I think that's the more accurate term, to register to vote, the Honorable Ruby Ann Cooper Darling. Please stand for us, Mrs. Darling. So we are standing in the presence of legends here at Holy Cross. I think it is also imperative that we celebrate the accomplishments of women in various fields in our Commonwealth. Women have represented the Bahamas near and far, and because of their work, their ethic, their intelligence, their ingenuity, the Bahamas has gained a platform on the world's stage. We give God thanks for our women. I think this week also provides the opportunity for us to address the challenges that face women. That women are still in the battle for their lives, even in this free country, in this democracy in which we live. It is so important that we aim for true equality in terms of our dealings with women, that we continue to empower women economically, and that we must move to end violence, all forms of violence, against women and girls in this Commonwealth. And finally, I think it is important that we acknowledge that this is a work that not only women must do, but that we all must do together. In other words, we need men, boys, males, as allies in this fight for women and in this cause for gender equality here in this country. I don't want to get into name calling, but I think it is important for us to acknowledge some of the legendary women that have shaped the world in which we live here in the Bahamas. We have acknowledged the presence of Ruby Ann Cooper Darling, Deputy to the Governor General. We remember today Albertha Isaacs, Dame Joris Johnson, Eugenia Lockhart, Mary Ingram, Mabel Walker, Althea Mortimer, and one of our very own legends, Beverly Wallace Whitfield, who is with us today. I believe that as history is written, we will have a lot more names to add to this honorable list of pioneering women in this country. And so today we say, to God be the glory, great things he has done.
Minister LaRoda was accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Deidre LaRoda, and key members of the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. Deputy to the Governor General, the Right Honorable Ruby Ann Darling, the first Bahamian to register to vote, graced the service with her presence, along with Ministry for the Public Service, the Honorable Pia Glover Roll. Other notable women who attended the service included Director of Gender and Family Affairs, Attorney Sharmie Fernandez, Treasurer of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Barbara Zonical, and Deputy Treasurer Donna Delancey, Dr. Tamara Moss, Crisis Center, Lilith Zonical, Chief Executive Officer, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Calais Philippe, Ministry of Health, and former DGFA Director, Calverna Small, Progressive Liberal Party Women's Branch, and representatives from the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Tourism, as well as non-governmental partners, Zonta Clubs of New Providence and Nassau. Here is Minister LaRoda's address.
I see now amidst here the names that you called, Miss Beverly Wallace Whitfield. And I want to echo to you, especially for the younger ones in here. Minister Glover Roll and myself are ministers today because of the work of the suffragette movement and the women of our country. And for too long, that great generation do not get the credit for, as you aptly put, they didn't have much, but whatever they had, they invested into their children and grandchildren. You see, I was raised by my paternal grandmother, who was born in 1910. Her mother was born in 1884 in a quaint settlement called Cripple Hill, Crooked Island. Both of my grandparents and great-grandparents left school at 10. They never had a passport. They could not conceive that the world was big enough for them to travel. And 4 and 3 generations later, their grandson and great-grandson sit in the cabinet of the Bahamas because of people from that great generation. And to the younger ones in here, you don't look at my teacher, former teacher, Ruby Ann Cooper Darling, and Miss Beverly Wallace Whitfield, and just see them as old fogies. My son went to a school that my grandfather and my grandmother could not attend. And that's how far we come. And we owe it to that great generation to hand on a country where there is so much liberty that there's almost an entitlement. And I feel that every time I get in a pulpit, I sing out the praises of that great generation who fought for others and not for themselves, for the Bahamas, that somebody like me, a product of Essie McPherson and their family, no special entitlement, could be one of the leaders. And I'm forever grateful for those great women who have done that. Psalms 133:1 declares, "How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity." I wish to echo this sentiment and formally thank Holy Cross Anglican Church for welcoming us into this sacred space to worship with you. As we launch National Women's Week 2025, we pause to honor a defining moment in our national story. 63 years ago, on November 26, 1962, Bahamian women entered polling stations for the first time and cast their ballots. That historic act of courage, won through years of determined advocacy by the women's suffrage movement, reshaped our democracy and expanded who had the right to participate in nation building. The vote paved the way for majority rule and ultimately independence by empowering tens of thousands of Bahamian women whose voices helped shape our course of our political destiny. The legacy of those women still guide us today. The legacy of those women still guides us today. No one can deny that across every sector, Bahamian women continue to carry this country forward. They lead schools, courts, ministries, businesses, farms, media, houses, and community organizations. I'd just like to point out that while Minister of National Insurance, I played a small part in elevating one Sonia Gill to the director of NIB. And I had never met her before I came to NIB. But I spoke to former Minister Shane Gibson, and these were his exact words. LaRoda, you can't find a better person to watch every penny of NIB than Sonia Gill. That was so prophetic, and to Sonia, and she and I, don't mind the quietness she have there. She know how to speak truth to power, especially when it comes to the dollar. Although more than half of our registered Bahamian voters are women, women currently hold fewer than 20% of the seats in Parliament, a gap that does not reflect their national leadership, population, presence, or civic engagement. And let me say this. Their numbers may not be as big, Father, but you put Glennis Anna Martin, Pia Glover Road, Jobette Colby Davis, Lisa Ramming, you put Ginger Moxie out of Grand Bahama, and I can tell you the voices for women in this country do not go unnoticed. It is not by coincidence that the Commissioner of Police is a woman, nor the Deputy Commandant of the Defense Force is a woman, nor the Deputy at Corrections is a woman. It is because of the advocacy of women at the table who make their point with empathy and emphasis. That they ain't just come here to be numbers, but that number would be heard. National Women Week called for us to close that gap through mentorship, policy, education, and international collaboration. This year's theme, Women, Let's Collaborate, is an invitation to uplift each other in a more deliberate way. When women share knowledge, expand access, coach younger women and girls, and build supportive networks, entire families and communities rise. Collaboration strengthens national development. Around the world, girls continue to be underrepresented in the fields that are shaping the future: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But again, when my son graduated with his degree in computer science and mathematics, the top students, the only students in that science class were all women. So that should tell you, and Melody in the position that she would have held, don't let statistics fool you. Sometimes it ain't the numbers, it is the quality of the positions that they hold. And they are showing that whatever men could do in the workplace, a woman could do, some of them would say better. According to UNESCO, only 35% of STEM students globally are women. Women make up just 28% of the world's STEM researchers. Here in the Bahamas, the need is clear. To compete globally, we must encourage more girls to pursue STEM, robotics, coding, engineering, maritime sciences, and digital technology. Expanding these pathways is essential to economic growth, innovation, and national competitiveness. As we celebrate progress, we must also confront the painful reality that too many women and girls continue to experience violence. According to UN Women and CARICOM, 1 in every 3 women in the Caribbean will experience gender-based violence in their lifetime. So you look around this church, count the numbers and suggest that 1 in 3 is experiencing that violence. What is even worse, the violence that are meted out against women and girls are usually at the hands of somebody known to them. So, individuals who should be protecting our women are some of the greatest violators of them. And as you mentioned this morning, this sensitivity must not only go to the women, but young men and young boys should be sensitized to the importance of not violating our women and girls, because every one of us, especially young boys, we know we are all mommy's boys. When the boys call for me, they'll speak for me 2 minutes. When they speak to their moms for hours, multiple times a day. How could these people that we treasure so much, that we turn and abuse? Brothers and sisters, this staggering statistic underscores the urgency of strong laws, prevention programs, survivor support system, and community-level education. The Department of Gender and Family Affairs is proud to partner with Zonta Bahamas for the global 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls, strengthening national efforts to create safer homes, schools, workplaces, and communities. Ending violence requires the involvement of all: government, civil society, family, and men and boys standing as allies. National Women's Week is both a celebration and a checkpoint. It reminds us of where we began, how far we have come, and how much still needs to change to ensure true equality, participation, and protection for every woman and girl across our Commonwealth. To every Bahamian woman, thank you for the leadership, sacrifice, courage, and compassion you bring to this nation every day. And to our men and boys, thank you for walking with us in this collective effort. Real change happens only when we all push in the same direction. Let us use this week to reconnect, collaborate, and recommit to building a Bahamas where every woman is safe, respected, and able to reach their full potential. I thank you.
Minister LaRoda and all who attended appeared to be touched by this very special service at Holy Cross Anglican Church. Their ministry is strong, involves young people, and highlights talent such as these phenomenal interpretive dancers.
Yeah, like they say, I know they was contemporary that when it's soulful, that's what happens. Once it's soulful, you just gather your people and they will take it right in the middle there.
Broadcast journalist Lloyd Allen attended on behalf of the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, ZNS Network News. Here is what he shared on his personal social media page.
I just came from Holy Cross Anglican Church, and let me tell you, I stand corrected. I just was in there for maybe about an hour and a half to cover a work assignment, but I had the pleasure of experiencing their praise and worship experience and some other components of their regular worship service. And let me tell you, I've never been to an Anglican church like this one. Even the young people were in the spirit, celebrating, praying, singing, joyously celebrating that moment of being in the congregation of other believers, celebrating God. And to me, that felt so good. I said to God before I even got into the sanctuary, I said, God, show me. Because I still felt like I needed to revisit this conversation. And so, to all Anglicans, this message is for you. I stand corrected. There are many young people at Anglican churches, like at Holy Cross, that continue to celebrate God, that continue to live in the Spirit. And beyond the physical, those young people there are fired up spiritually. If you've never been to Holy Cross Church, it's an experience like none other, literally like none other. I fell in love.
The love, fellowship, and strong faith were evident. As Father Ferguson prayed for those in his congregation, he also lifted up prayers for the women of this nation, knowing that the church plays a pivotal role in their education, empowerment, and protection. Happy National Women's Week. Women, let's collaborate.
I give myself.